Okay guys, welcome to the Level 4 Professional Cookery course. Today what I'm going to do is show you some of the cuts and some of the vegetables that you will be using, and this is one of the assessments that I normally do. It's Minestrone Soup, and the reason why I picked the Minestrone Soup is because it covers a lot of ground for me and a lot of evidence that I need to gather. So whenever I come to assess you, I would suggest that you maybe use a minestrone soup. It covers all the different types of vegetables, like the tubes, the fruits and bulbs, leaves, and the tubes of the potatoes and things like that. So it's a very good soup to do. Because it covers all that ground. So what I'm basically going to do is go through the veg, do all the little chopping and cuts that I would expect you to do. Whenever I come in to assess you, you would have your bench set up something similar to this if you were doing the minestrone soup. And this is just a demonstration to show you the type of things that I'll be looking for when I'm watching what you're doing, even if it's live stream or face to face. But this is what I would expect you to be ready, set up, ready to go, and not be kind of wasting time and running about fridges and things like that trying to gather up the ingredients. So you'd have it all set up like this and have it ready to go. So I'll just move these back a little bit, and what you would do is start off with an onion and just take off the top, take off a small amount around the roots, and then you would have a little bin or a bowl just to put all your rubbish in to the side. So I've got a bowl over here that I'm using, and then we would take off all the leaves, cut the onion in half, okay, so the root is there, so I'm cutting it in half that way, okay, and then we would just peel off the skin, like so, and just peel that all down and take it off so that there's no skin left on the onion, and you can see I've left the root intact, so that's quite good. And I'll do the same for the other side and just peel that off like so. So take it off the skin. And then what I'm going to do is just move these back, this over here, and what I have is a plate. You could use a tray, a white tray, and just keeps things nice and neat. So as you chop all your ingredients and prepare them all, you'll set them out onto this dish. Okay, so I'm going to dice up my onion. What I'm going to do is keep the root side to the opposite side of the knife, and what this does is hold the onion together as you chop. Okay, so I'm going to cut in to the onion, but not the whole way, just slicing in towards the root so that the root should hold it together. Okay, there's a little bit of a mist, but if you do that, then slice into the onion, aiming the knife towards the board so that it doesn't cut. And you'll notice that I'm using a kind of sawing action. If you try and push it, it would slip and cut into your hand. And always try and use the techniques that your tutor has shown you, okay? It will feel a bit awkward at the start, but once you start cutting and start chopping all the time, you'll get used to it, and it'll come like second nature, and it'll be a lot safer for you to use. So then I'm just going to cut this into nice little fine dice. Okay, so the fine dice is called brumas. This is slightly smaller than a bruma, so I like my veg nice and fine. So I'm chopping that up nice and fine, and then I'm putting it onto my little plate here, or a tray you could use. Okay, so this looks nice and neat. And then what you could do is, if you're doing an evidence video or photographs, it looks nicer on a photograph rather than just a pile of vegetables. Okay, so you're going to cook these separately in stages. so that's why we try and keep it a little bit separate. So we'll have another go at chopping the other side of the other half of the onion, and this time I'll try not to have a bit falling off at the side. So I'll do this wee bit quicker. And as you get more confident, you'll get a lot quicker at chopping and a lot better. As I say, don't worry if it takes you a bit of time. You will get better as you go on, and you'll get a lot faster as you get more confident. Again, once you're being observed by me, just take your time. I'm not looking for super speed. I'd rather see you nice and safe doing it that way. Let's take my spaghetti out of here for later. Just tidy up my bench. Take away the onion, so and make sure it's nice and tidy. So one of the things I'll be looking for is how tidy you are, your kind of hygiene, things like that. Making sure you wash your hands. I have a little basin here, so let's wash my hands in that. Make sure they're nice and clean. And also, as I visit the unit, wherever it is you're working, or I come to see you, I will be observing you all the time as you're working, just to see how your hygiene practices are, health and safety, things like that. Because you do have other units that you will be working through, rather than not just the kind of practical side. So I'll be trying to cover as much as I can for the other units. So you need to make sure that you're nice and clean, health and safety, keep nice and tidy, and make sure you dispose of things properly, things like that. So we're going to move on to the carrots. So you can see I've already peeled the carrots, so you can have these prepared before I come in to assess you, or whenever you're making a video, or if I'm live streaming, watching what you're doing. Okay, so we've got a carrot, we just cut it in half, trim it up. Then we take a small slice of one side, and then this makes it nice and stable on the board, okay? So that if you try and cut it like that, it's going to move about, roll about, and be a bit dangerous, okay? So what you need to do is do that, and then some nice slices like so, and then you're going to cut it into batons. Yeah, if you cut these thinner, they're called Julienne, okay? In your kitchen, on the wall, you should have a little picture, a little card that gives you all the different cuts and all the different types of vegetables in the kitchen. And as you're getting observed, and as I'm watching you, I will be asking you different questions and things like that. Just not to catch you out, but just to make sure that you have learnt it. And if you don't know it, then we will train you and also let you know what you should know. So it's not a case of trying to catch you out or trying to trick you or anything like that. It's all about learning and for you to learn and to make sure that you're taking it all in. Okay, so we've got that. And what you can do is, if you have a baton, you can cut it thinly like that, and then that gives you a paysan, okay? Or you can cut it slightly bigger, and that gives you a small dice, like so. Okay, so whatever way you cut it, either paysan or small dice, make sure that they're all uniform size. Yeah. So you don't want a large dice like that and then a small one, because they'll cook at different cooking times, and also they don't look nice in the soup. It looks more professional if you have them all nice the same size, and especially if you do decide to work in the hotel industry, you will be expected to do things like that, be precise with your cuts if you're working in a really good hotel, or doesn't matter where you work actually. If you're in a cafe, anything like that, it just shows that you actually care about what you're doing, and you're a lot more professional. And it's a lot nicer for the customer to eat if they've got nice fish, cut nicely, cooked beautifully. We'll just finish off the rest of these carrots. I'll just quickly do them. So you can see I'm getting a bit quicker, faster. I'm not expecting you to be the same speed, not yet anyway. Once you get more confident, you'll be able to do this a lot quicker. And then we just slice that. You can see that you'll do it that way. Make sure it's nice and stable. With the years that I've been chopping, I knew it was quite stable doing it that way. So, and then we just chop the rest of the carrot. So this soup will make quite a lot of portions. So we should get a nice pot with about 20 portions out of this. Okay. Whenever you come to do your assessment, you know, I'm not expecting you to make a huge amount of soup. Okay, so you can cut the recipe down and just make a small pot as long as I can see your cuts and how you work nice and tidy, and that you do actually know all the different vegetables and things like that. So I've just finished off the carrot, done that, and I'll put that onto my plate. So you can see my plate starting to build up with a little bit of veg on there. So I'm following the recipe here online or in your folders. If you're working with a folder, if you're working online, these are online, and this is just an idea of the procedures to make the minestrone soup. And what I do is I use these as a checklist. So as you go through it and as you cover all the different elements, I take it off, and this works as an observation sheet for me. Okay, and it also works as a prep sheet for yourselves. Okay, so if you're going to make the minestrone soup, it's all there. All you have to do is follow that, and I'll use that as a marking guide. Okay. So next we have the turnip. So again, just make sure it's nice and flat one side, nice and stable, like so. And then what we're going to do is cut it in half, like so. The one half, there's far too much turnip here, so I'm only going to use one half. The other half, what you need to do is cover it. Okay, so if you cover it in cling film, stick a label on it, and then put that into the fridge where you store it, and then that covers another element in the course. Okay, so that's you storing properly, making sure it's labelled properly, and this is all things that I'll be looking for when I come in to assess you. So we're just going to take the skin off this. So again, stabilise one side, and then just work your way down, like so. If you feel more comfortable using a peeler, a speed peeler, you can do that, but I feel a lot comfortable using a knife. I've been using a knife all my life, so you can see there's a wee bit there, so we just trim that off, like that. Make sure all the skin's gone, like so. And then we dispose of this in my little bin over here. So I've got a little bowl with all my rubbish in there. So then what I'm going to do with this is slice it. So you can see I've got one hand here. Make sure your hand is up flat. Don't have it like that, or you'll cut yourself on the blade. Okay. So if you're going to use this technique, make sure you have a bit of pressure on the top of the blade. Keep your hand flat, and then kind of rock it down until you come all the way down. Okay. And then just rock it down like that until you get the turnip completely sliced. Okay, so just again take your time, and then we're just going to cut these in batons again, and then paysan. Okay, and then just quickly chop that like that, and then put that onto my plate or your tray. You can see I'm keeping the tip of the knife on the board, and then just rocking the knife backwards and forwards like that, and that gives you, rather than trying to push it like that, if you do it and just ease the knife across the board, and you can see that the tip of the knife never really leaves the board. Okay, I'll cut it like that. So then we'll do the technique. So you can see I'm kind of sliding it through as I do the slices. So, and it makes it a lot easier, and a lot easier on your wrist as well. You know, if you've been doing a lot of chopping, you need to make sure that the knife does all the work and not your wrist and your arm. Okay, so you should have a nice sharp knife to do that. So just cut that as well, and just slice it up onto here. Again, you see there's quite a lot of vegetables. This will make you quite a lot of soup. This would do over a, you know, over a lunch service, or evening, whenever you propose to use the soup. And with the minestrone, it's quite a hearty soup, so you probably put that on maybe over the winter, and you know, serve with a sandwich, do a kind of combo thing. And we'll just finish off with this. Slice that up. So you can see I'm keeping my hand, the tips of my fingers in. Okay, so this is called the claw. So you have your hand like that. Bring in the tips of your fingers. And if you can see the knife, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I never bring it up above my knuckle. Okay, so I keep it on the board, keep my knuckle, and then just rest the knife slightly on my knuckle, but never go above it. And keep the tips of my fingers tucked in, and this stops you from cutting your fingers. Okay, so again, just take your time with these techniques, and you'll be fine, and you hopefully won't cut yourself. Okay, so we've got the leek. What I've done is I've already washed this, but what you can do is, or what you'll need to do is, make sure you quality check. Okay, so that's one of the things you need to look for. Quality check it. Make sure it's not bruised, damaged, or anything like that. And you should always check your veg anyway when you get a delivery, just to make sure it's nice and fresh. Okay, so we've got our leek, and then what we're going to do is just trim off the end with the roots. As you see, I've trimmed off the kind of darker bits. Then I'm going to cut it in half. Like that, and then cut it in half again, so you've got quarters, and then we're just going to cut these in little paisans, so little flat squares is basically what you're trying to achieve. So I'm going to cut these together just for speed, but I'll cut one just to show you, so you can see it's a kind of flat square. Maybe do it a wee bit smaller, but you want to make sure that the veg is all around about the same size. Just looks a lot better. For the customer, it looks a lot better in the soup. I'm just going to cut these. So I'll just do it quite quickly. Like that, and that's it. All ready to go. I'll put that on here. So you can see my tray starting to build up. Again, what I said earlier is you don't need to make as big a pot as what I'm making. You can cut down the ingredients and just make a small pot. Especially if there's a number of you doing it together, then we can add it all together at the end and make one big pot of soup. So these tomatoes, I'll do these later on. I'll just set these over here beside the other ingredients. And then we've got the cabbage. So what I've done, again, I've already pre-washed these. Okay, so make sure you wash, especially leeks. You know, a number of times I've tasted soup and the chef hasn't washed the leeks properly. You get a bit of gritty, or even if you put your spoon at the bottom of the bowl, you can feel the grit where it has been washed properly. Okay, so make sure you get all the dirt out. Make sure it's all nice and clean. So I've picked up the outside, the leaves of this Savoy cabbage, and then what I'm going to do is cut out the main kind of stem of the leaf. You don't want that in it. It takes too much to cook, and it just doesn't look nice in the soup. So I'm going to cut that out like so, quite quickly, like that, and then put that into our recyclable bin, and then cut that in half. And then what we're going to do is just slice these up, that, slice them up, and then what I'll do is I'll use this other tray as an ingredient tray once I'm prepped, and then just cut these, and then do the same with the other one. So, and then just cut these up like that, and then slice them again, or cut them into as near as you can to a paisan. Okay, so again, I'm trying to keep them all the same size. So we've got that little pile of cabbage there. So then we move on to the celery, and what we're going to do with that is we're going to take out the sinews. So we'll take out the sinews from that and then stream them down like that. The little sinews, as you can see. What you can use is you can use a speed peeler and then just peel them down, but I always use a knife. So I'm just catching it between the blade and my thumb and then just pulling them out, okay? So these are quite hard to digest, plus the fact they go into your soup and then sometimes they kind of cook out and people think it's bits of hair or something like that in their soup and you get it caught in your teeth and it's just not that pleasant. So they don't really believe you whenever you tell them it's actually the sinew of the celery. So you want to take that out so you can see what I mean by it. It's kind of like string. It's not very nice. And then we'll take out from the other one, do the same, and take out all the sinews from both. Can't remember which one it was I done first. So, and then we just take them all out like that, and then just rip them off. So we've got them all out, and then what we're going to do is just slice that up as well, and then just slice it down. All the way, and then maybe cut it in half, take off the bottom part, here's the root, and then slice that as well. Again, try and keep it all the veg nice the same size. Alright, down like so. So we've got our celery done. And then we're nearly there with the chopping. Okay, so in here I've got the potatoes. So I've got both potatoes ready. And then what I'm going to do is just slice them again. Again, if you're doing it, make sure you make it nice and stable like that, okay? And then some slices like so. And then cut it into batons. And then little small dice or paysan, okay? What I'm going to do is put it back into the water, and this will, until I come round to use it, this will stop it from going brown and not very nice. So, and then we'll just cut that. Okay, so I'm kind of speeding up a wee bit just to speed things up. But again, as I said before, I'm not expecting you to be super fast. Just take your time and just all in. Here we go. There we go. And then the same with this one. And then stabilize the potato again, slice it, and then just take your time. Oops. Quite slippy after being in the water, and then chop that up. So, and the same with this one. Dice it up. Put it in here. So you can see all the starch coming out as well into the water. And then we'll just slice up the little end bits and dice them up. And put them in. So what I'm going to do is just have a quick tidy up, and then we'll go into the kind of cooking stage. So you can see that the vegetables here, they're all kind of prepped up and ready. Ready to go. Okay guys, so we've got all our vegetables prepped up, as you can see here. We've got the potatoes, which I've taken out of the water. We've got our green beans, which I have defrosted. So you can either the best way to defrost them is overnight in the fridge. But don't forget, whenever you're looking stuff out of the freezer, especially vegetables, make sure you check for quality, date, and also for freezer burn and things like that. And I've also got my peas, so I've left these out overnight in the fridge just to defrost, and they keep the colour. You can rinse them through cold water with a sieve or a colander. In your kitchen, you'll see them. They're big colanders. You can defrost them under cold water with that. So we've got all the veg prepped. So here you'll notice I've got some tomatoes in here, which I have blanched in hot water. And what I've done was I put a little cross on the top. I then took out the root. Okay, so I took the root out, the cork, and then I popped them into boiling seasoned water for a few minutes until I could see the skin just starting to peel back. Okay, then I blanched them and refreshed them in ice cold water, and that's the way you would cook broccoli and things like that. But I'll show you them in future videos, how to blanch and refresh broccoli and green veg and things like that. So what I've done is done that, and then what you're going to do is just peel off the outside skin and just leave the flesh in the inside. So you can see it comes off quite easily, like so, and like that. Let's put that on my chopping board, and I'll do the same with the other one. Just peel it back, peel it all back, and it just comes off really easy. Okay, just be careful you don't over blanch them and they just become a mush. Okay, so you can see it's all nicely blanched. Okay. So I'll just set them to one side, and I've got my green chopping board. I've also got a non-slip mat that I use. Some people what they use is a damp cloth underneath, but I use these. Quite easy to clean, nice and hygienic, and you should have them in your kitchen. If not, you can just use a damp cloth or a bit of damp tissue paper and put it underneath. Okay, so we've got our tomatoes, and we'll just set this over to one side, and we're just going to chop these up. Okay, so we're going to chop. Some people what they do is they take out the seeds and just scoop them out, and then just literally just use the flesh. But for us, for this, we can just roughly chop them up and just roughly chop the tomatoes. And this will just go into the soup. Right at the end, we'll just chop that up, and then just chop this one up like so, and just chop it nice and fine. So we've got that already, and we'll just get rid of that into a little big bin. Again, when you're touching the bins and things like that, I'll be expecting you to wash your hands, okay? So you go in, and I'll just wash my hands in here. So you need to, make sure you wash your hands after being to the bin because of all the, all the dirt and things that could be, bacteria and stuff around the bin. So we've got the veg ready, so I'm just going to move that forward and bring in my little mobile cooker, which I hope will work. So I've got my cooker here. I'll just put it onto this other camera just to make sure you can see it okay, and give it a light that up. Yep, so it's lit up okay. These things can be a bit temperamental. That's it. So I've got it on to heat, and then what I've got over here is I've got a little bit of oil. So this is vegetable oil, just a small bit on the bottom, small amount on the bottom of the pan. And then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sweat off the vegetables. So my onions, set them here. So here I've got my onions. You can see why I've separated it all out, because what you want to do is put in the onions first and sweat them off. So we're just going to do that, and I've got some seasoning here which I'll just to the side here that I'll use. So that's it, coming up the temperature just now. I'll put the onions in. So I don't know if you can hear that in the camera, but you can hear them just starting to cook. There's a couple of wee bits of carrots in there, but that's okay. We're just going to sweat the onions off. Okay, and then you're going to sweat them off till they become glassy, okay, glassy, so they're kind of see-through, transparent. But what you don't want to do is have your pan too hot that they all start to burn, okay? We're just sweating them off. That. So it's got a little bit of root. I'll just take that out. Then what you're going to do is just follow it with the other vegetables. So I've got the carrots. I'm going to put them in as well. Just turn that down slightly. Make sure it's turned down. And then just sweat off the rest. And the turnip. The green veg I'm going to leave to the end, okay? I'll leave that to the end. I'm going to put in the celery. It doesn't really lose its colour that much. Put in the celery. And again, just sweat all the ingredients off. And put in my potatoes. Put them in. This is going to be quite a hearty soup, nice winter soup. You'd also put all the veg in and just put in a bit of broth, mix and just make it into like a vegetable broth. But as I said earlier on, this soup is fantastic for me for gathering evidence of all the different vegetables and your chopping skills and things like that. So it kind of covers everything in one observation, which is really good. So I'm just going to put in the leeks, and then what I'm going to do is quickly follow it by the rest of the vegetables, and then I'm going to put in my stock. Okay, so this is vegetable stock. I'm going to put that in. I'm going to put in some tomato puree, which I have here, and just at the moment I've got some pureed garlic. I'm just going to put that in, just give it a nice taste. You don't have to put the garlic in if you don't want to, but it just gives it a nice kind of Italian minestrone flavour. You can also put some oregano and things like that in if you want as well. So I've got that sweating off and it's cooking off nicely. And then what I'm going to do is add in my stock. So there's 1 litre of stock in here, and hopefully it's mixed in okay. So we'll put that in, and then I'm going to turn the gas back up full. Stir all that, stir it all in, and put in the rest of the leeks. So put this over to one side, and you've also got the green beans. What I would like to see you do is cut them in little, at an angle, and cut them a nice kind of diamond shape like that, okay? So just make some nice bite size, and we'll just put them onto there. So we'll just go through them, and then just cut them all a nice kind of diamond size, place them in there. So once this comes to the boil and starts to simmer, I'll then add in the tomato puree and put that in. I'm going to put it in just now and put that in. We'll put in some tomato puree, and then right at the very end, about 5-10 minutes before the soup's ready to go, we'll put in the green veg, the chopped green beans, the cabbage and the peas. And then once it's come to the boil again, what you do is put in your spaghetti right at the very end, okay? So in the spaghetti, I've got it wrapped up in a little cloth here, okay? So I wrap it up in the cloth, and to get it all nice kind of bite size, I don't know if you can see that, I put it over the edge of the bench, and then that means that you've got, just put this out so you can see it, And that means you've got all nice kind of nice size of spaghetti. And I'll put that right at the very end, okay? So as we're not wasting video, and the video is quite long anyway, so